wanted to talk a little bit about Roe versus Wade's repeal by the Supreme Court. I've made videos on TikTok about this before, and far, far better voices than mine have been raised in response to the Supreme Court decision. So I don't intend rehashing any of that. I mean, this has been a long time coming. We've had a lot of time to prepare for this. And what I believe we're seeing here are those thrashing death cries of terrified white men who look at a world that is changing too fast for them to deal with, and who are trying to wrest back control, particularly over women's bodily autonomy, but more broadly, just control of everything that goes on in life, because those elements that they don't understand scare them. And they're enabled and supported by the conservative, submissive women that are celebrating this decision today, who have such deep internalized misogyny that they cannot even fathom that they hate the gender that they are, and have been so brainwashed by the religious right, by politicians, that they actually believe that something is happening worth celebrating. And I think we all know that they will come to regret that celebration. So I'm really only interested in addressing those people who are on the right side of history here, and in particular, young women and all women, to say you are not alone, and that this is one of those blips in history that you have the misfortune to live through, that the trajectory will always be upwards towards love and compassion in general terms. But right now we're going through this period in America in particular, but in the Western world more generally, where the men with power and money and influence are seeing that power eroded. And because they don't understand what's eroding it, what they don't understand the forces that are moving in the world, and they fear them. And the way in which they respond to fear is by repressing what they don't understand. And abortion is just one of those things. Abortion is actually not the issue here. That's a dog whistle issue. It's not. What's at the core of all of this is something far deeper and far darker. And yes, the stacking of the Supreme Court to enable the repeal of Roe versus Wade is a huge step, but it's not a surprise. It's not a coming out of the closet for right-wing evangelicals in particular, and conservatives more broadly. It's the culmination of a process. And where I think progressives might get this desperately wrong is to think that this is the conclusion. It's not. It's the beginning, not the end. And so what I believe that we need to enter into here is a period of resistance, and it's going to take a while. And I want to encourage women and girls, and certainly their male allies, to look at the long game here, because we are seeing the results of a long game by conservatives here. Years and years and years it has taken since 1973, since the original decision in Roe versus Wade, to reach this point. They are very good at playing the long game, and progressives and the left are terrible at playing the long game. And the trouble is that you have currently a group dominating the Democratic Party that consider themselves left and possibly even progressive, who are not. They are a shade away from the people they replaced in the Trump administration. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Joe Biden, all of these people are, putting it bluntly, fucking useless. They are useless. They are not allies of women and girls in these situations. They're just not. And I'm sorry if you think they are. The trouble with that thinking is that it confines you to the existing democratic process, which, as you know, has been hijacked by cults a long, long time ago. It has long ago stopped representing ordinary men and women in America. Long ago. And the Democratic Party is no different. But there are people within the party, on the progressive left, who are worth supporting, and who I believe are the future. And I think, look, Bernie's old, but he's a good man with a good heart. And I don't want to debate whether he should have been the presidential candidate or whether he could have won. We'll never know, because basically the Democratic Party shit themselves and chickened out and put up Joe Biden, whose only merit, as far as I can see in his year and a half in office, is that he's not Donald Trump. That's literally the only merit I see. Now, I'm not an American citizen, so you're quite right to say, who gives a shit about this? What's the point of your video? The point of my video is to encourage young women and girls to be ambitious in your resistance and to think long term, to look at this situation and go, you know what? This situation was created by people with a long-term vision. So if we want to uncreate it, if we want to change the situation, we have to have a long-term vision. And in order to implement these changes, we need to become lawyers, judges. We need to run for office. We need to create influence. We need to create a base of resistance to the current system and the current occupants of that system so that we replace them over time. And that charge is going to be led by women and girls, because they are the future of any progressive movement. And that has to include Black, Indigenous, and other people of color in an alliance. And all I'm saying is that men like me and male allies are there in support. And yes, our voice and our vote is important, but the future is you, not us. Certainly not men like me, old white men. We are not the future. We are the people that, instead of creating these Roe versus Wade situations, who should be stepping aside and letting people with a future, with a genuine interest in the future of this planet, of the United States, of individual countries, take the lead. So please, let's not wring our hands too much about this decision. It's been coming for decades. If you're crying about it now, it's a little bit too late. But it's not too late to take the long-term view and do something about this, to get the right education, to run for office, to be active, to make your presence known in resistance to the current patriarchal bullshit that's going on. Educate yourselves in what the patriarchy is, because if you want to overthrow your enemy, you have to understand your enemy. And let's make no bones about it. Patriarchal capitalism is your enemy. The patriarchy is your enemy. The current representatives, by and large, in the House are your enemy. They are not on your side. They have only self-interest and the perpetuation of the wealthy elite, and in particular whiteness, in mind. Fuck them. Fuck them. This is where they have got you. It's now time for you to step up. Now, in the short term, of course, girls and women are going to need abortions, and they are going to need to assert their bodily autonomy. And they have every right to do that. And I don't give a fuck what the individual states are saying about this and what the politicians and pastors and all these particularly white men or supporters of white men in the patriarchy are saying. Fuck them. There are resources that will enable you to have an abortion despite what's going on in America. And I am going to post in the comments here a link to Emma is a Feminist. Her link tree has the best list of resources covering everything you need, including travel to other states, how to get that, charities that will support your travel, how to get a safe abortion, how to, I mean, honestly, it's an endless, amazing list. And Emma has done the most incredible job in putting it together. And so I'm going to post a link to it in the comments. I strongly urge you to follow her on TikTok. I don't think she's on YouTube. She's at Emma is a Feminist. I'm going to tag her here, give in the comments. An amazing ally for all women, girls, LGBTQI plus people. Just an amazing human being. And she's done a great job in putting this together. So kudos to her, and I'm piggybacking on that. But this is an amazing resource. Use it. Please do not let the fear-mongering around this repeal cause you to believe for a second that your ability to exercise your bodily autonomy no longer exists. It has, of course, become more difficult, and there are risks involved. So one of the first things at a purely practical level that I strongly recommend is that when you search for these links, or you click on any of these links, do it through a VPN or a proxy server. Please do not just search from your normal search engine. All of these, you know how your stuff on the internet is tracked, right? Don't let it be tracked, because in certain states it's quite possible that you can be accused of what is very rapidly about to be a crime in having an abortion or procuring an abortion or procuring anything along those lines. And so you've got to protect yourself. So don't just go searching on your laptop or something. Make sure you've protected that search. Do it from a different source. Use a VPN, use a proxy server. Be careful from now on about how you look into this subject, right? Because there may be people who are just fucked up enough to look at this stuff with a view to prosecuting you, to setting examples of early prosecutions in these under these new state laws. Please protest, resist. I don't really have anything more to add except that I'm on your side, and there are many, many, many millions who are, both in the United States and throughout the world. And we know that you are on the right side of history, and that these people who created this situation and are celebrating it are on the wrong side of history. And they will answer for that. They will. Because their consciences might be clean today, but when they see the impact of what they've done, you've got to hope that the reality makes them rethink. I'm not certain it will, but that's not your problem. Your problem is, how do you look after yourself in this situation? And I hope that some of the resources that Emma has put together will help. I hope that knowing that you are loved, supported, seen, that you are not alone in this is also helpful. And just the very, very best of luck.